I'm going to say this like a fan who feels the weight of Foxborough in his chest. The Patriots are stepping into one of those weeks where silence becomes news too. Christian Gonzalez wants to be valued. League history shows why these holdout stories usually do not reach the breaking point. But the defense still has pass rush holes. An important rookie is still surrounded by questions. And even an unknown tryout player has started catching Mike Vrabel's attention. This is not panic. This is a rebuild knocking on the door with tough decisions. Drop a like if you want New England aggressive, smart, and respected again. Christian Gonzalez's situation hits the fan base because it is not just about money. It is about priority. It is about how a franchise shows the locker room who it sees as the foundation of the next phase. And when you look at Gonzalez, 23 years old, his rookie deal getting closer to the finish line, and already an all-pro cornerback in New England, the question gets too heavy to treat like front office paperwork. If this is not the kind of player you lock in early, then who is? The part that settles the fan base down a little is the NFL context. Holding out into regular season games over an extension almost never ends beautifully for the player. Hassan Reddick went through it in 2024, Chris Jones in 2023, Melvin Gordon in 2019, Le'Veon Bell in 2018. Out of that group, only Chris Jones truly got what he wanted, and even he missed just the opening week before landing a one-year extension with Kansas City and returning in week 2. So when the drama spills into the season, the pressure flips, the fines get heavier, the clock tightens, and the leverage that looked like it belonged to the player starts slipping away. Look at the other examples. Gordon held out through training camp in the first 3 games, but Austin Eckler exploded into the space he left behind, and Gordon ended up leaving in free agency for less than what the Chargers had already offered him. Bell missed an entire season, gave up $14.5 million in guaranteed salary, eventually got a big contract with the Jets, but his production fell off. He was released a year later, and he earned far less than that deal promised on paper. Reddick, after the trade to the Jets, missed 7 games, piled up $4.5 million in fines, and ended up accepting an adjustment much smaller than the scenario he was chasing. That is not just history, that is a warning. That is why I am not buying the desperate read that Gonzalez is about to become a fire nobody can control. He skipped organized activities earlier in the spring, yes, and that set off the alarm. But he came back for mandatory minicamp, took part on a limited basis, and said he wants to be in New England, wants to be rewarded as a Patriot. To me, that sentence carries real weight, because a player who wants out usually does not send the message that way. He kept the talks between the team and his agents exactly how he should, but he gave the fan base something emotionally important. There is a desire to stay. New England still has to act like a serious franchise. Negotiations can take time. Kyle Hamilton and Sauce Gardner only got their deals done after minicamp in the 2025 offseason, with Sauce signing on July 15th and Hamilton on August 27th. Devin Witherspoon, from Gonzalez's same draft class, is also among the corners still waiting for a new deal. So time by itself is not drama. The drama starts if the Patriots let this situation bleed onto the field. If Gonzalez misses training camp, the main concern for 2026 becomes conditioning, timing, and having his body ready for September contact. It is not about him understanding the defense. It is about showing up sharp. The strongest read to me is this. The Patriots have a chance to turn anxiety into a message. Ian Rappaport already said on June 4th that there is a good chance a deal gets done before the season, even if it does not feel imminent. So New England does not need to move like a scared team, but it also cannot play around with its own foundation. Gonzalez is exactly the kind of player a serious rebuild protects. If Mike Vrabel wants a physical, reliable, respected defense, it starts with keeping the corner who changes the way opponents attack the field. From there, the conversation moves off the contract of a cornerstone and lands right on the other edge of the defense. Pressure on the quarterback. Because having a corner like Christian Gonzalez erase one side of the field only goes so far if the opposing passer has too much time to breathe. New England finished the last regular season with only 35 sacks, a number way too low for a franchise trying to become uncomfortable, physical, and respected again. Reaching the Super Bowl does not erase that need. If anything, it makes it even more obvious. Because when a team is close, every depth issue becomes a real threat. The Patriots already made moves. They brought in Draymond Jones, drafted Jesus in the 2nd round, and Mike Vrabel has said he likes the group. I respect that. Vrabel knows the trenches, knows defense, knows front 7 rotation, but liking the group does not mean ignoring the market, especially when Jacas had a knee procedure this offseason, still has a contract holdup, and there is optimism for training camp, but no absolute guarantee that he will be ready the way the team needs him to be. That is why Joey Bosa becomes an interesting interesting name. He is not peak Bosa anymore, and nobody has to pretend that. But we are not talking about a finished player either. Last season with the Buffalo Bills, he had 5 sacks, led the league with 5 forced fumbles, and added 9 tackles for loss. That kind of situational production matters, especially for a team that needs to turn pressure into loose footballs, 1 third downs, and opposing offenses walking off the field. There is another layer too. Bosa would not have to arrive as the savior. He could be a low-cost piece, used in clear passing situations, protected in volume, sent after tired tackles, and at the same time serve as a reference point for a young player like Jacas. A 5-time Pro Bowler in the pass rush room does not only teach technique, he teaches preparation, snap reading, patience, how to use your hands, how to win without relying only on burst. K'Lavon Chaisson leaving also matters in this equation. Edge depth is not a luxury in the AFC, it is survival. So if the price is controlled and the body responds, New England should at least make the call. The Patriots do not need to sign a famous name for nostalgia. They need to search for small edges that become big plays in January. Bosa, in that specific role, could be exactly that. The Haiku story is uncomfortable because it does not give you a clean answer. And honestly, that is usually what frustrates fans the most. If the player is hurt, we understand the caution. If it is contract-related, we understand the negotiation. If it is just preservation, fine, there is a process. The problem starts when the pieces are scattered across the table and nobody in Foxborough puts them together out loud. Jacas was picked in the 2nd round to be an important part of this defensive line, especially as a pass rusher. That is not a small detail. New England invested in him because it needs explosion off the edge, needs players who can bother quarterbacks, needs young pieces who can grow into the identity Mike Vrabel is trying to rebuild. But he missed OTAs, missed mandatory minicamp, remains the only 2nd-round pick in the league without a signed contract, and naturally that opens the door to questions, rumors, concern, and rushed interpretations. Then the video surfaced. Marcus Howard, the former Colts linebacker, posted clips of himself working out with Jacas, and the rookie looked like he was moving well, preparing for training camp, not like someone completely shut down by an injury. Did that bring some relief? Absolutely. I saw it and thought, good, at least the body seems to be responding. But it also brought a second layer of unease, because if he can work like that outside the building, why was he not with the Patriots? If recovery was in progress, what part is still weighing on the negotiation? If the knee allows that kind of workout, what exactly is the obstacle? And I am not saying that to attack the player. The opposite. Jacas has talent. He has an interesting comparison floating around, and he has the kind of profile this defense needs to develop. But the Patriots are not in a phase where they can waste installation time with an important young player. Training camp is not just drill work and uniform photos. It is learning language, absorbing coaching, understanding the pace of the head coach, earning trust from veterans, proving the franchise can count on you when September gets heavy. What gets me is the contrast. While the team is trying to sell a new era with Vrabel, A.J. Brown arriving as a massive move on the other side of the ball, Gonzalez looking for his value, and the defense needing more venom in the pass rush, Jacas becomes a question mark right where New England did not want mystery. A rebuilding defense needs clarity. It needs to know who is available, who is ready, who is just being protected, and who is still caught in contract conversations. War room in the comments. Build the decision like you are inside the building. Would you wait for Jacas until camp without touching anything? Or would you bring in another edge right now so the defense is not tied to that weight? Because I want to see this kid in Foxborough, healthy and signed, but I also want to see the Patriots act like a team that learned a basic lesson. Hope is good, depth is better. And after all this talk about big contracts, veteran names, and a second-round rookie, here comes the kind of story that seems small at first, but speaks directly to the soul of the Patriots. The player who arrives without the red carpet, without the spotlight, without the protection of status, and starts earning ground through the work. Xavier Holmes, an edge rusher from James Madison, landed on the radar after a tryout. Out of 17 players who attended rookie minicamp on that basis, only 2 earned contracts for the 90-man roster: Hawaii safety Peter Manuma and Holmes. That already says something, because a tryout does not forgive much. You get a few days, a few snaps, very little margin, and you have to show coaches who may have just met you that there is something worth investing in. And Mike Vrabel noticed. The head coach talked about Holmes as a productive college player, someone who may have been undervalued in the draft process, and he pointed to exactly the small things that matter in cases like this. Whether the player is coachable, whether he makes a mistake and corrects it, whether he shows effort, whether he has a real skill set. That kind of evaluation is not just empty talk. For an undrafted free agent, catching the head coach's attention is basically oxygen inside a building packed with competition. Holmes' 2025 numbers help explain why. 30 total tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 4 pass breakups, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 blocked kick. That is production spread across different parts of the game. That is a player showing up in multiple ways, not waiting around for the perfect play to make an impact. Of course, the path is hard. UDF, as always, start from behind. But in New England, that door has never been decorative. Adam Vinatieri, Malcolm Butler, David Andrews, Jacoby Myers, they all remind you that draft status does not decide a career by itself. And more recently, the Patriots saw Efton Chisholm III and Elijah Ponder sign as UDF as in 2025. Make the roster and contribute. So if Holmes keeps stacking effort, correction, and impact, he can become more than a nice spring story. He can become real pressure in an edge room that needs exactly that. Live competition. The final snapshot is pretty clear. The Patriots are rebuilding a defense that has to become respected again, but that rebuild cannot live on intention alone. Gonzalez needs to be treated like a pillar. The pass rush may need one more experienced piece. Jacas needs to get out of the fog and fully into the plan. Holmes is a reminder that in Foxborough, opportunity can still be born in the details. I am hopeful but demanding because this fan base knows the difference between promise and a real path. From 0 to 10, comment your confidence in the Patriots' direction right now. And if you want to track every New England signal with me, subscribe to the channel.